Hey, New Life, this is Pastor Mike. This is Wednesday night. We're just getting ready for just a quick devotion. I want to read to you Isaiah chapter 50, verse 4. It reads this: "The Lord hath given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in a season to him that is weary." This evening, I was just thinking about how we're in a time where we need to be able to speak a word to those in this season that are weary. And so it got me thinking about seasons and how there are different seasons in life. It says this in Proverbs 15:23, "A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season, how good is it?" And so as we think, there's timing to a word. There's a season when we're supposed to speak something, and when we speak the right thing at the right time, Proverbs says, "How good is it?" And so we need to speak some things to those who are weary today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about what is a season. If you go by the law of first mentions in the Bible, it says this in Genesis 1:14, "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." And so he's classifying, hey, there's going to be seasons, a spring, a summer, a fall, a winter, these different seasons. But really it's just a set amount of time a season is. And so really what we need to understand is that we all have seasons. We're all going to have different seasons in life. Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, "To everything there is a season." And we can draw a lot from just everything there's a season. There's a season when you're going to be on the mountaintop. Things are going to be good. There's a season where you're going to be in the valley. Things are going to be tough. There's a season climbing. There's a season where you're falling. There's just all kinds of seasons to life. There's a season where we're having great victories. We're winning people to Christ, and all these things are happening. There's sometimes seasons of drought where we're trying to figure out different ways to reach people, where we're trying to reach different people. But we all need to know that, as Ecclesiastes says, to everything there is a season. To everything there's a time period. So how long is a season? It reads in Josiah. No, not Josiah. It reads in Joshua 24:7. "And when they cried unto the Lord, he put darkness between you and the Egyptians, and brought the sea upon them, and covered them. And your eyes have seen what I have done in Egypt. And ye dwelt in the wilderness a long season." What kind of season was the Israelites in the wilderness? 40 years. It was a long time that they were there. So how long is a season? Is the season 40 years? He also tells us in Revelation, he's just speaking about some prophecy. He says that they should rest for a little season. And so what does this tell you? Sometimes there is a long season, a season we sometimes don't want to last that long. And sometimes there's a little season. It's shorter than we would like. Very rarely is something going to be like, man, this is so good. It's been too long. But sometimes there's something, a season, it was too short of seasons. For some of you, it's the time you had with your kids, the time of certain stage in your life. It was just too short of a season. But everything there's a season, and with every season there's a time for it to end. Christ was tempted, as we're thinking about the resurrection and the Christ's death on the cross. It says this in Luke 4:13, "And when the devil had ended all the temptation, he departed from him for a season." After Satan had come and tempted Christ, it says that after that, he had only left Christ for a season. He gave him a break just for a season. Sometimes we get these little breaks from things and from troubles and from trials, but It's only for a season. It says this about sin, choosing rather to suffer the affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Some of us forget that sin is just for a season. You can be involved in it. It's fun. It brings pleasure, but it is only for a season. There are some who are wrapped up in sin right now. Some who will be listening to me. You have a sin, a secret sin no one knows about, but it's only going to bring pleasure for a season, because eventually you will reap what you sow. Eventually, it will bring forth a fruit, that sin, and it's only for a season. There's a season you will be due some things, that thou mayest give them their meat in due season, Psalm 104. Matthew chapter 24, he says, to give them their meat in due season. And then he tells us this, Galatians 6:9, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. For the believers who are listening to this, we need to keep continuing. The Bible tells us that we will reap if we faint not. When? The due season. When it's time. When that time has come. And then the Bible tells us when our season is over, we will leave this world. It tells us this in Job 5:26, thou shalt come to the grave in a full age, like as a shock of corn cometh in his season. There'll be a time for us all. We have a season of life, and then after that, all of us will one day face physical death. It's just for a season. What we need to remember about the seasons of life is that eternity is not a season. It is forever. Eternity in heaven is not a season. It is forever. Eternity in hell is not a season. It is